So these are the top 5 things I've learned from traveling to 16 countries and 4 continents. What's up, everybody? So this is my first video. After years, I did a couple back in the day, but my name is Vino and I am a person who loves to travel. I travel as much as I can when I can, and I figured, why not talk about what I love to do? One of the things that I absolutely love to do, I'm just like rambling right now. I love traveling. So these are the top 5 things I've learned from traveling to 16 different countries and 4 continents. Number 1, it's okay not to do everything. I know when you're going on a trip, you're thinking, oh man, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to go to the amusement park, I want to go to the, the clubs, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, these countries are bigger than you think. They might seem kind of small, but in reality, a lot of them are pretty big. There's so much stuff to do. For example, I got a chance to go to Japan, and it was insane. Just so much stuff to do, so many places to go, so many little tiny cities to see, the food to try. It can be very overwhelming. So what I suggest is create a list, keep it somewhat short, just maybe a couple things, that you really, really would want to do. So if you love cars, put that on the list. If you love watching movies and learning about films, put that on your list. If you love just going out to the nightlife, having a good time, put that on your list. Food especially, if you're really, really into food and you're just a complete foodie, I highly suggest putting that on the list. Why? Because it's gonna make your life so much easier planning everything around that, and you don't have to do everything. You don't have to go everywhere. You don't have to see all the museums. Think of it as you're visiting and you're coming back. That's the type of mentality you wanna have. Because if you try to do everything and squash it all into one trip, it's gonna be cluttered and you're gonna feel like you're overwhelmed. So I highly suggest pick a couple things that you really want to do. Maybe it's a concert that's happening out there. Maybe it's a certain, type of museum or something like that. Or maybe it's just a certain area that you would just love to go to. Keep it simple. It's okay. You're not here to impress anybody. You're here to have a good time. That's the most important thing. Number 2, and it's very similar to number 1. Do what you like, not what's cool. You're not there to impress anybody. You're not trying to be the coolest person, and you shouldn't be on the trip trying to do it just for Instagram. Don't get me wrong. It is good to do it for Instagram and social media and take the right pictures and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're spending sometimes thousands of dollars to go to these places, and you're planning for months, maybe even years sometimes, trying to have your dream trip. Why would you waste it trying to impress anybody else? The main thing, again, is that you're having a good time, or even the people that are with you are having a good time. Forget what anybody else thinks. Just make sure that when you come back, even if the pictures are terrible, I've gone on trips where I've taken pictures and I look at them later and I'm just like, this is just, what? But at the end of the day, I remember being there and I was just like, oh, that was actually a good time, excuse my French. So yeah, keep that in mind. When you're going on these trips of a lifetime, don't worry about Instagram. Don't worry about social media. Enjoy yourself. Tip number 3, if you're pretty introverted like me, I highly suggest investing into Ubers or taxis instead of public transit for your trip. Now, what I mean by that is most of the time when you think of somebody planning a trip, you're thinking, okay, they plan for the flight, they plan for the hotel, spending to go do entertainment and stuff like that, and also food and a couple other things. But for the most part, we don't really think about transportation as part of the trip budget. So I highly suggest, if you're somebody that doesn't really like being around people and you just want to relax sometimes, you want to be able to get where you're going and not have to feel exhausted when you get there. Because I'll be honest, a lot of the times when you're on public transit, trying to figure out where to go, and you got to figure out a map that it's not even in English, and you're walking around and you're getting lost and you're asking people's questions and they don't even speak English. Some people think that might be part of the journey, and that's cool. But for me, personally, I would prefer just be able to get where I'm going and then go to the next place. It saves a whole lot of time, and more importantly than anything, it saves you so much of a headache that can come. Because there's nothing worse than getting to somewhere you've been dreaming to go and you're too exhausted to enjoy it. You're taking pictures and you're walking around and you're just like, I'm not even here. Like, you're not even there. You don't even feel it. So, number 3, invest in Ubers and taxis. But be careful, be safe. Tip number 4, this one is also very important. Be nice. You know, some people, they go on trips and they think they can just act any type of way. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that is not what you wanna do. You wanna keep your cool at all times as best you can. Don't get me wrong, there will be situations that'll test you. There's been plenty of times where I've gone places and I had to hold my tongue, or I had to kind of like clench my fist and like, just take a breath. I've had plenty of those moments. The main thing is that you don't react and you always be cool and nice. Why? Because things are different abroad. And if you get in trouble or you get in some like altercation or fight or whatever may happen, you don't know how that's gonna turn out, and chances are it's not gonna be in your favor. You're not from there, and there's all types of things that can happen. Things can escalate out of control, and long story short, you just don't want those problems. Just, be the bigger person and do your best to walk away from it. Resolve it and walk away from it. Be nice. Tip number 5, never drink past being able to walk or type. I know this seems super obvious, but you would be surprised how quickly drinks abroad can hit you, and more importantly, how nice the people are. What I mean by that is you'll be hanging out, and if you're a fun time to be around, people want to be around you. They want to hang out, they want to chill, they'll buy you drinks, they'll take care of you, and you won't even notice it. You won't even notice. Some of these drinks, they'll creep up on you out of nowhere. You'll be sitting there just hanging out. Next thing you know, you could barely get outside of the bar, or you can barely get outside of the party. You don't want to let that happen to yourself. Don't do it. I highly suggest doing your best to kind of gauge how much intake you can have, and also just like paying attention to what you're being served. Always be aware of what you're being served, first and foremost. But yeah, pay attention to what you're being served, how much you're taking in, and don't overdo it. Because if you aren't able to type and you're in a location where you don't necessarily know exactly where you are, it's gonna be very difficult for you to call a cab or an Uber. And also, even if it's an emergency and something happens, you're gonna kind of be stuck there, So when in doubt, maybe 1 or 2 drinks. On your first couple days, figure out what's going on, figure out your tolerance level for that specific area and those type of drinks, and then go off of that. But always know your limit. All right, well, that was my first video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you want to, feel free to subscribe. All right, everybody, that was my top 5 tips for when you're traveling abroad. If you like, feel free to subscribe to my channel, as well as like the video. It helps me out and it helps me grow in the algorithm and all that good stuff. Make sure to stay tuned. I'll be putting out a lot more videos and content soon. And if you have any questions or anything like that, or if you had an idea of the types of videos that I should kind of cover, feel free to comment below. I have a lot of information that I want to put out there to help people, as well as I'm building my travel consultancy business. So if you ever need specific advice or want help planning a specific trip, you can reach out to me that way. I'll have all the info linked below. But yeah, I'm looking forward to where this goes, and I hope you guys have great trips. Enjoy yourselves. Peace. I'm not gonna lie, I do not know where to look in this camera. It's bothering me. I feel like I look a little cross-eyed. I don't know what's going on here. I'm gonna figure it out.